You are 13 years old, Macedon. 343 BC, your father, Philip II, has just hired the most expensive tutor in the known world to teach you alone. Aristotle himself, paid in gold and a rebuilt hometown, spends 3 years teaching you philosophy, medicine, poetry, and the works of Homer until you can recite the Iliad from memory. Your father is already carving out an empire through relentless war, and every dinner conversation in your house is a lesson in conquest. You are 13 years old and you already understand one thing with absolute clarity. You were not born to inherit a kingdom. You were born to surpass one. You are 2336 BC. Your father is assassinated at your own sister's wedding, cut down in front of the entire court by a former bodyguard with a private grudge. The kingdom is unstable, the army uncertain, and half of Greece assumes a 20-year-old cannot hold what Philip built. You do not hesitate. Within weeks, you execute every rival claimant to the throne, march your army south, and remind Thebes exactly what happens to cities that mistake your age for weakness. You raze it to the ground and sell its survivors into slavery. The message reaches every Greek city before your army does. You are your father's son and worse. You are 334 BC. You cross into Asia with roughly 40,000 men to fight an empire that outnumbers you by every measure that should matter. At the Granicus River, Persian cavalry lined the opposite bank, waiting for you to make a mistake. You charge across first, personally, at the front of your own cavalry, a spear cracking against your helmet hard, enough to nearly end the invasion before it begins. It does not end. You break the Persian line, and every city in Asia Minor starts recalculating whether resistance is worth what it will cost them. You are 333 BC. At Issus, the Persian king Darius himself commands an army several times your size, personally from the center of his own formation. You do the only thing that makes sense to a mind like yours. You aim directly at the king. Your cavalry punches through his personal guard, and Darius panics, abandons his own chariot, and flees the battlefield on horseback, leaving his mother, wife, and children behind in the captured camp. You could execute them. Instead, you treat them with a courtesy that stuns the entire Persian court. Because you are not simply conquering an empire, you are auditioning to become its next legitimate ruler. You are 331 BC. At Gaugamela, Darius gathers the largest army the ancient world has ever assembled to end you permanently. You are outnumbered so severely that your own generals suggest a night attack to even the odds. You refuse because you want a victory no one can call a trick of darkness. At dawn, you drive straight through the center of his line one more time. Darius flees again, and this time his own men murder him before you can capture him yourself. The Persian Empire, the largest the world has ever known, now answers to a 25-year-old Macedonian. You are 326 BC. India is the edge of every map anyone in your court has ever seen, and you intend to erase that edge completely. At the Hydaspes River, King Porus meets you with war elephants, animals your soldiers have never faced and do not know how to kill. You win anyway, through maneuver rather than brute force, and when Porus is brought before you in chains, you ask him how he wishes to be treated. Like a king, he answers. You are impressed enough to let him keep his throne as your vassal instead of your prisoner. Then your own army does something no enemy ever managed. They refuse to march any further east. 10 years from home, they are done conquering the map for you. You are 323 BC. Babylon is where the empire that stretches from Greece to India finally stops expanding because you are the only thing holding it together, and your body's beginning to fail you. A fever takes hold that will not break. Your generals crowd around your bed, desperate for an answer to the only question that matters now. Who inherits everything you built? You manage one final word before the fever takes the rest of your voice. The strongest. You die at 32 years old, and within weeks your empire is already being carved apart by the men who once knelt beside you. You conquered more of the known world in 12 years than any man in history before or since, and you never once lost a battle. And now you are history.